everyone. Today is my interview with Bekks, who is an actor, specialty in Shakespeare. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, and let's get straight to this interview. Thanks for being here. Hello there. If you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is BeKKs Rowan. I use they, he pronouns. I'm a Purdue graduate. I'm a writer, an actor combatant, producer, teacher, Shakespearean stage combat, chaos goblin. My interests involve querying Shakespeare and other classical texts and interrogating what shifts in staged violence and intimacy with trans and A-spec participants. Completed teacher training with Dueling Arts International so I can teach people how to swing swords and not hurt each other. And yeah, I've run a theater company that was able to pay everyone $20 an hour with just individual donations, and got 3 world premieres and 14 or so international publications at this point. So I do a lot
So
of things.
you are, very clearly. What inspired you to do pay what you can service?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of work in free outdoor theater specifically. It overlaps a lot with the Shakespeare world. But so I've gotten to see people who would never be able to access live theater be able to do so because the theater, comes to their part of town, and they don't even have to try to catch a bus or anything. It's just there. And so that has been really, really, really impactful. And I've been able to since I graduated, I've been working almost every single month in theater since I graduated, which is insanely lucky. But I'm also by no means from any sort of independently wealthy situation. So I have had to turn down as much or more theater work that I really wanted to do because I couldn't afford to travel, or there's no housing attached or whatever. Using Shakespeare to teach violence prevention, or roles that were written specifically for non-binary actors, and that I just the theater's small, they can only pay, $100, and that's it. It's I got to a point where I'm actually in the middle of trying to navigate what I do from here, because I've seen from those free Shakespeare things and the things that I've been able to do that the healing that free theater can do is unlike anything I've seen anywhere else. And I wanted to keep sharing those stories that make a difference without having to wait for trying to get it through a theater company because of how playwriting production things can work sometimes. So I was like, well, hey, what if I just do it myself? So I basically looked at the stories that I have, the plays, the poems, the books that I have because I've written them, and was like, why not take what I learned from running my theater company and make an online art library? So again, we're reducing that geographical barrier because now it's just online. And then my compromise between okay, I do need to make a living off of this, but also I still want to make it accessible, was that pay what you can structure. And boy, am I learning a lot about patience. It has only been up for a month. And I have 2 people who have subscribed, which is awesome. And they are at different tiers, which is cool. Okay, so that pay what you can structure was a good idea because that's allowing people to help support me without straining their own budgets. And I am having a ton of fun with it because I'm getting to do free live streams of the plays that I'm doing. I had one person who watched it who was like, I just learned a ton from just a silly little play that I put together. So yeah, it's really cool to see where your community turns out for you. And I am betting my livelihood on this because finding a day job has not worked, but everything that I've been I'm gonna do it myself has worked.
Well, that's a good thing, at least.
Yeah, and it's really cool to be able to create another space where I wanted to create a space where I can use the stories that I write to help heal some of the social divides, and making a space where good old Midwest Christians can show up as some of the loudest cheerleaders for the trans folks doing a Dungeons and Dragons play in a church,
Oh my
which
gosh, I
has
love that.
already happened. I did that.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
so yeah, I wanted to make that more accessible to anyone who has an internet connection. And so that's where the pay what you can roguish goblin stories came from.
Which is pretty great. I like your website, honestly. Well, you're
Good
already
old
pretty much,
Canva.
well, you did great. Mine is still in the works, my website, because I am also trying to make though I do have a day job working with kids with special needs. Well,
Oh.
disabilities is a better term to use, as
Mhm.
I am disabled myself, so I can say that. But yeah, that's my day job. But because it just financially, anyways, you don't make a lot helping
Yeah.
others in the first place. I'm
Right.
trying to get my business running. So I understand you. I might not be in the looking for a job field, but the
Right.
working and then working. I don't know how to describe that correctly. That's
Yeah, I
what
got.
everyone gets. That's there you go. You're welcome. Let's see. Do you have a favorite story to share from your awesomeness of Shakespeare or D&D or wide array of things or multiple?
Yeah, I got the blessing of getting to be a touring actor teacher for a year. That was my job right out of undergrad out in Ohio. So I was like in a different school every week, like rotating teaching partners. So we're like just changing up who we were teaching with among the team. And so, like, because we're rolling into the school at like 7 a.m. sometimes, or like a little earlier, like the sun's not even fully up yet, and we're like, okay, I don't know. Like, we're also like exhausted as we're like rolling into the school. But we have to be like high energy when the students get there to be like, we're gonna do some Shakespeare.
Yeah.
All the desks in the room. Like, so I would wear my pronoun pin. I got a bad shoulder from an injury, and so like because we were doing some stage combat, because we're doing like Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet and Macbeth, and like I would just have my pronoun pin on me to like a help the teaching staff because we're only in the school for a week, and also to remind my fight partners like, hey, this is the bad one. Don't poke it with the sword. Like, and it was so cool to see, even if nobody said anything, you could just tell, like some of the kids in the class would just like see it and then just like sit up a little taller or just like relax a little bit. And I had one kid who pulled me aside after like Monday, so I've like been around this student for like half an hour, pulled me aside and was like, hey, I see your pronoun pin, and like because I see you fully out, I know I'm gonna be okay. And like we were immediately just like crying in
I
the
love
hallway
that.
together of like me and the other teacher who were there. And I looked at that student and I was like, you are why I took this job, because like I didn't have this touring artist program at my high school, and like so I had no idea that like A, you could be an actor professionally, or B, that like I didn't see any examples of like trans or aro or ace adults coming through, not until college. And so like getting to be that little bit of hope for somebody else is like that story is like the crystallization of like why I do what I do.
I love that. That's awesome, honestly, because we need more rep all the way.
Oh yeah.
In everywhere, in every part of the industry. I would
Oh
say
yeah.
queer, disabled. I like combining both.
Oh
We need
yeah,
we
right?
need both more and more and more. And more they, them, and he.
Yes.
Let's see. You already covered that, but that's okay. I'm gonna ask it anyways. What kind of stories do your services cover?
Yeah, so like I tend to sit in the like querying that classical sort of adaptations or response pieces like sequels or like alternate timelines and stuff. I also do a lot in like the fantasy adventure genres. Like anytime I can put a sword in a trans person's hand, I'm like, let's do it. And I'm also like really message driven. So I love trying to like emulate stories like Inside Out or like Nimona or Lord of the Rings, like stories that like even if it's like a fun, we're fighting dragons and shape-shifting or like whatever it is, but like the story itself and the character's journey are like helping train our collective like emotional intelligence and our strength for like social justice. And I'm also like as an editor, like I've read a much wider scope. Like I've worked on plays and fictions and poetries. I don't tend to do like horror or romance stuff just because like I'm a particular brand of Aero Ace that I'm like, I know I'm not the most helpful person for this genre. And then also like I have a good amount of stories that are like more than the nonfiction because I focus on like trans and aspec education and like covering some of like the 101 level stuff of like what is aspec, what is aromantic, what is asexual, like what's the difference between a trans man and trans masculine, because like and focusing on the interaction of like where my non-binary aro ace identities overlap specifically in theater because like that's my experience, so that's what I can be like, this is the thing that I know really well.
And here it is.
Here it is.
I like that a lot. Oh, what is your artistic process in everything you do? So it can go to all your wide range of things, whatever you want
Oh
to talk
yeah.
about.
Yeah, I try to lead everything, every process that I do has sort of the underpinnings of curiosity and teamwork. I ask a ton of questions. I recently like realized that because I'm really good at like anxiety spiraling with the whole like what if the world is ending.
Me too.
Oh my goodness. And it's so easy to like
It
get in
is.
that. My mom calls it the merry-go-round of despair.
Oh, I like that. Honestly, that's a really good
Yeah,
term.
and I love that metaphor because it's like, first off, it makes me giggle because it's like the merry-go-round of despair. But it's also like a reminder that, like, cool, we can slow the merry-go-round down and then we can step off of it safely and we don't have to stay on the merry-go-round. Easier said than done, but it does help.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I started realizing that a lot of the times when I would get stuck on a writing project, if I started using that what if spiral in a constructive sense, it would help me break through writer's block every single time. So I have started just asking ask a bunch of questions. Draft the first take, whether it's a writing project or character study for a play that I'm about to do. Okay, cool. Now ask more questions and then revise it and then just like a loop of that and like having those questions work off of a group because like especially theater is like a really you have to be collaborative even on a one person show. Like I got to understudy a one person show. There were like 30 people working on it. Like and so like I find that my best strides in like improving on those drafts, whether it's actually writing or whatever else I'm doing is much stronger when I'm asking those questions in a group because then you can like build off of each other and get outside perspective. And I'm an external processor, so like I'm not necessarily going to connect the dots right away unless I say it out loud and go or I hear it
Oh,
reflected back to me. So yeah, that curiosity and teamwork is what I go with.
those are very important. I'm a bottom up, so all the dots
Oh yeah.
don't always click. Sometimes I have to also do a little external. Sometimes that
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
work either. Sometimes someone just needs to flat out go, Jesse, this is what it is. And then I go, okay, that makes sense.
Yep. Sometimes that's like, right, okay.
Yeah, because you get the ending piece first as a bottom up thinker. So you don't get all the pieces from beginning, middle. You just get the end, and you don't know always where that started.
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, what advice do you have for up and coming queer actors?
Keep going. You're doing great. And also, like, this is a recent lesson that I have learned, or that I have finally, like, clicked into place the more I talk to people. Lean into your queerness as your superpower and, like, as part of your casting type. Not in the sense of, like, I can play the gay best friend. Like, I'm not saying slot yourself into just that. We all know there's more that you can do. But the number of roles that I have gotten and like dream roles that were an absolute fit for me just because I just talked about how me being a trans masculine non-binary aro ace person brought a fresh take on the character. I mean, it is precisely how I booked my dream role in Shakespeare in Love. I got to play the matinee idol that the only cisgender male actors were getting called back for, and I was like, I think I would like to read for this character, please. And the director was like, oh, if we have time. And I went, sure, there's a lot of people, that's fine. But I had planted the seed. And then we got to callbacks, and she was like, "Yeah, we need another Ned Allen. Can you come in and do it since you're here?" And I was like, "Yes, I will." And she told me afterwards that she was like, "Oh, I wasn't really sure. Like, I gave you the audition as like a courtesy because I know you because it was in school." And she was like, "But after you walked in and started reading, I looked at our text coach and was like, there's no other option. We have to take them." Like, I'm playing Romeo out in New Hampshire at Advice to the Players in the summer of 2026, literally because the director reached out and was like, "Hey, I saw you write on Instagram about how Romeo can be an asexual character, and I want to hire you so we can stage that." And I'm not changing the character at any point in these. I'm like, here's the places in the text where this boy could be ace. Like,
There's a lot of points in there.
oh
A
yeah, I'm
lot.
like, his language stays so much more in the like flowery romantic imagery that especially if you compare his language to Juliet's, it's like between the two of them, they have very different language about the relationship. And so like I always look at like do your research, like find the truth of the text, what draws your eye, what you're curious about, what you're like, what does this mean? ask those questions and then figure out how your queerness is aligning with that truth of the text and then talk about it because you probably surprise a few people and then they'll start thinking about it and they'll go, wait, but I get it now and that makes so much sense. And yeah, do you want to do this?
I like that. That is awesome, honestly. Especially the Romeo, because when I was younger, I did obsessively read Shakespeare and language is used, yet Shakespeare was the first language I understood.
Oh
But
my
with Romeo, just his language in general, like it's very interesting, especially if you just focus on his textual part and
gosh.
the
Right.
plays versus hers. And like you said, they are very different. And I could
Yeah.
definitely see the ace and yeah,
He's just
non-binary.
like, oh, she's so pretty. I'm like, I'm very excited to like play with like, okay, high school age student, like, is this actually romantic attraction even? Or have you conflated aesthetic attraction with what everybody else is talking about? And you think, I think this person's so pretty and I want to be near them is like romantic attraction. Because I may or may not have done that exact thing. And so I'm like, oh, buddy, we we might have some learning to do here.
I feel like a lot of us have done the same thing Romeo has done of, ooh,
Yeah,
she's pretty. I'm gonna talk to her
right?
lots and try to convince her to also like me too. So
Yeah.
that's mainly what he's doing, at least in my
Oh
personal
yeah.
opinion, for the first, I guess, part one. I have not read
Right.
all the acts. Act one, he's especially just pining over her and going, I love you, you're pretty. You want to be with me now? Cool.
Right. Yeah. Can I just be around you all the time because you're so pretty?
I think a lot of us, at least in the queer community, do that. I don't know
Yeah.
if straight people do that. I can't speak for them, but I don't know.
Oh,
I just know a lot of queer people do that you're pretty.
oh yeah. You're pretty. Can I just spend all of my time with you?
Yes,
Yep.
all our brain goes off.
Yeah.
You're pretty. Oh, okay. I love that so much. I've never gotten to talk to anyone about Shakespeare like this. That's so fun. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, just like with Hamlet, with me, I count Hamlet as the emo boy of Shakespeare because all he does is come up with, I'm gonna cry about this now. Now I'm gonna think about death because of my dad, the famous quote, well, speech of his.
Right.
And then I'm gonna cry again, even though I pretty much talked Ophelia into her death, but that's okay. I'm gonna anyways pout about me not taking responsibility for what I did to her, but it's all right.
Right. And also he has, like man delights not me, no nor woman neither. And it's like I've seen a full like Dr. Ali O'Mara did a full dissertation on like Hamlet being ace.
I need to
Be-
see that dissertation. I like all the perspectives on everything except for when straight people try to take over Shakespeare's narrative because they don't, in my personal opinion, shouldn't be doing that since he was bi slash, in my personal opinion, gay, but
right.
time
I
period.
love there's a oh gosh. I know the acronym is ACMRS. Is it Arizona? There's a round table on YouTube that ACMRS. I'm gonna find it. It's the early yes, Arizona Center for Medieval and Renaissance Studies did a roundtable with Dr. O'Mara and like several other scholars about early modern asexuality and performance is the title of the roundtable. And so like there's several Shakespeare plays that get sort of broken down between different scholars' presentations on that. My favorite is the Liza Blake talks about Much Ado and Benedict and Beatrice being ace.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Well, the
Like,
fact that he technically has, because that's much to do, is a lot like Twelfth Night. To me, they're pretty much the same play, except he changes characters' names and puts them in a different setting. As far as I'm concerned, this is just my own personal take on it.
and there's no twins in Much Ado.
Yes, that too, but it feels like the story that he was telling was the same.
Very
There's much to
similar.
do, just very slight differences, not too many. Just
Yeah,
like
because like the mistaken identities and like the no, I'm not. I mean, a lot of his comedies have some form of maybe it's not a perfect love triangle like Twelfth Night, but that like the one person who's pining after the other person, and then person B is like, I don't want to talk to you, person A, because I'm in love with person C, and like
exactly. I feel like he did that based off of the young man that he had a thing
yeah,
for of I pine after
right.
you and nope, I don't like you. I like this person here.
Like
And
this
then
person
his
over
wife
here.
was I pine after you, but I don't like you, but I like that person over there. I think he based that off
Right.
of his own life. That's why he did it. twice because
Right.
he's trying to work through his own stuff, just like technically Romeo and Juliet. For me personally, psychology point of view, because I do at least have that part of him working through his children's deaths. So Romeo and Juliet, named after both of his kids. Yes, I
Oh,
have
yeah.
obsession with Shakespeare. I still know a lot of my history and information because I only was obsessed with Shakespeare most of my life because that was the first language I understood.
Yeah, and I love the verse itself is just it's easier for me to memorize like Shakespeare lines than like most contemporary lines. And I think a lot of it is because of the rhythm to it. And I also like yeah, my mom like read Shakespeare out loud to me when I was a baby. And so like I grew up hearing that verse just all the time. And so like I think that's part of why it feels like a more natural language for me to learn because that rhythm is just even when it's not the perfect like iambic pentameter, it's still oh my gosh, I could be like
Go for it,
I could
go
go
for it,
on
do it.
forever, but like I like having the rhythm there because it tells me when I've substituted the wrong word in the line. Because I'm like, oh wait, okay, I know this line is supposed to go da 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 da, and that is not what I just said. Okay, where did I goof?
That's funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like his sonnets too, because I like
Yeah.
I can't say the word without me sounding weird. Yep, nope, what you
Iambic pentameter?
there you go. You can say it correctly. I cannot. But the rhythm is one part that I've always loved about Shakespeare. And the fact that, in my personal opinion, no one, unless you're a rapper, like I think Doshi has reached rhythmic of Shakespeare in her rap, but I don't think anyone else has written the rhythmic of Shakespeare, in my personal
Right.
opinion.
Yeah, and it's having attempted to write a verse play that has not yet seen the light of day because I got into it and went, "Oh, this is hard."
I tried
Like
doing
I'll eventually get to it, but
it's not easy. It's very hard. I tried doing that in middle school and high school. I tried writing and I went, screw it, I'm just going to do my own version. And that's
yeah,
it.
like
I've written.
this is why Shakespeare goofs like plays with the verse so much because
Yeah,
it's
it's
hard to stick to that rigid structure and keep it making any sense.
yeah, especially with the rhymes that he does. Like sonnet's a little easier because you can
Right,
do every other line and it can still be a sonnet and you can tell an
right.
entire story within the sonnet itself, which I
Right.
wrote those in like elementary school. But yeah, so there is that. Yeah. See, we think Shakespeare.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, what advice would you give your younger self?
Ooh, I think as much as they would hate to hear it, be patient. But like not just like be patient and like but like be patient because you're gonna be okay. Like you've got a lot of dreams and you're still trying to figure out what to do and what to focus on and like you'll figure it out. Like it's gonna take some time. You keep asking the questions that you're asking. You follow the new questions that come up and you'll figure out where you want to go.
What is your favorite course you made on your website?
Yes, I haven't. I'm still trying to dig into like digital courses, but I've done some in because I'm a stage combat teacher. So I've done some stage combat classes both as like a TA and a co-teacher and then also like a head instructor and they're so much fun. I yeah, it's a special place because like you're witnessing people grow a ton in like a very short period of time, especially if you're in your like an intensive situation where like, you know, like a national workshop, you can be learning for dueling arts, you learn 6 weapons disciplines in 2 weeks. Like it's like and you're putting like 12 to 15 training hours in on each weapon. Like it's intense. And you know your stage combat is training you know partnership and communication and a lot of times nonverbal communication because like you have to stick to the lines of the script and so like if something goes wrong like if you forget the choreography how do you communicate to your partner hold on like you know and how do you stay in character and navigate around the you know the brain you know spacing you're also training like physical ability and conditioning and like because swords are only like a couple pounds but when you're holding that at the full extent of your arm in a full lunge like that can get tiring you're also training like you're adding historical knowledge especially with like the training that I come from dueling arts does a lot of like very specific focus on like these techniques would have historically been used with this particular kind of sword sword because of the way that the sword is built. So like a big heavy broadsword is not going to use the same techniques as a really tiny light, almost fencing foil style of like a small sword, because they're two very different. They move differently. You know, you're also training like acting and performance and like vocal training, because you know, you have I like to tell my students, like, I need you to make noise so that I know you're still conscious.
That's
I
right. No,
need
you're
you
so
to
conscious.
breathe, please.
Breathing's important, true.
Just a little bit.
Tiny bit.
Yeah, so like especially if you have never done stage combat before, and I've worked with a lot of students who, like, this is also their first time acting. And so like you get deer in the headlights on the first couple days of like, you want me to do what? And it's my favorite thing to just watch everyone at their own pace, like, grow in their confidence, and like, you know, getting to see a student who at the start of the week was like, oh well, I'm not an actor, so like I'm not going to be good at this, to getting comfortable with, like, this is my first time acting, so I'm going to have fun and make some goofy choices, and I'm going to be a little tooth fairy fighting over a tooth. You know, like, getting to see people, like, I was TAing a single rapier class at school, and one of my most like introverted, like, did a little bit of acting but mostly was like a stage manager behind the scenes, like, very shy, very self-deprecating person. We put a sword in their hand, and I have never seen so much joy on their face, of just like their eyes lit up, they stood taller, like all of their like sort of like trying to like hide melted away, and they caught on to the drills faster than like anyone I've ever seen. And they were just, when they realized that like it was clicking naturally with them and they were getting it and they were doing it well, they just started laughing, because they were like, this is so, I didn't know I was gonna be good at this because it's so far outside my comfort zone. And like getting to see that growth is just like, it's so fun.
The fun and excitement. And you have that Horse Wives, right, on your website of battle.
Oh yeah, I've got so many of the pictures on my website are like me fighting. It's also funny because like I'm only 5'2", and so like I'm a very small fighter, which is hilarious because usually I end up, I don't, when was the last time I fought somebody who was within a half a foot of my height? Like most of the time I'm fighting people who are like 6 foot, or like I fought someone who was 6'7" while I was at school. I'm about to like go play Percy Jackson in Kentucky, and I'm gonna be fighting another person who's like 6'7" there. I'm like, it is so funny getting to be like the tiny little like against these people who are just like, I really,
That's
so fun.
awesome. Well, technically, I'm taller than you, so thanks for giving me confidence on that. Only by an
Hey,
inch, but still taller by an inch. 'Cause I'm
yay.
5'3". Sometimes I'm 5'3.5". I don't understand when the half comes up, but it sometimes does. So that's why, yeah, I don't understand it. Most people
Uh,
don't understand it when I explain it to them either, and I go, I don't know. That's just how it goes.
no, no,
Sometimes I'm
yeah.
a half inch taller than what I'm supposed to be, and sometimes I am 5'3". It varies. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't understand it. I can't do the math of why that happens. But anyway,
Right.
and then where can everyone find you? And just so everyone knows, all links shall be below to go check out services. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Becks, BEKS, the number four, real. So it's Becks for real. And then my website is Becks Rowan, BEKSROEN.org.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for being here. And
Thanks for having me.
yes, I'm gonna do, yeah, we should do a little dance. I've got a story to tell. You got a story to tell. Together we rise and telling our stories. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Till next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye. Peace.